is still wrapped in the velvet embrace of night, though the faintest hint of change stirs the air. You are here, safe and comfortable, resting in the heart of an ancient capital. The rhythm of your breathing slows down, matching the measured pace of a city that has measured time not in hours, but in centuries. This is Kyoto. The name itself sounds like a breath exhaled, a whisper of silk against tatami mats. Before the sun crests the eastern hills, before the temples open their heavy wooden gates, there is a profound silence that settles over the valley. It is a silence that feels heavy with history, yet light enough to float upon. Imagine for a moment that you are lying on a soft futon in a traditional room. The scent of woven straw mats, the tatami, rises gently to meet you. It is an earthy, grounding aroma, smelling of dry grass and summer fields, preserved within the quiet walls of a machiya, a wooden townhouse. Outside, beyond the paper screens of the shoji doors, the city sleeps. But you are awake, resting in that delicate space between dreams and the day, feeling a gentle pull to witness the morning unfold. You slide the wooden door open. The sound is a soft rumble, wood on wood, a noise that has echoed in this city for over 1,000 years. The air that greets you is cool and crisp, carrying the distinct perfume of the Higashiyama district. It smells of damp cedar, of old stone, and the faint, sweet trace of incense that clings to the eaves of the buildings from the day before. There is moisture in the air, a gift from the surrounding mountains that cradle the city like the rim of a tea bowl. You step out into the street. The light is shifting now. The deep indigo of the night sky is beginning to dilute, washing out into a pale, hazy violet. The streets are narrow here, lined with buildings of dark, charred wood and smooth white plaster. The architecture feels organic, as if the houses grew from the earth rather than were built upon it. Lanterns made of washi paper still glow with a soft, amber light, standing sentinel outside quiet doorways. They flicker gently, casting long, dancing shadows on the pavement. Your destination is close. You are walking toward the foothills of the northern Higashiyama Mountains, drawn by the promise of running water and solitude. The only sound is the rhythmic tap of your own footsteps and the distant, soothing rush of the canal. As you walk, the modern world falls away. There are no cars, no crowds, no urgency. There is only the timeless grid of the streets and the expansive sky above, which is slowly turning a soft pearl gray. You turn a corner, and there it is. The canal. The water flows with a steady, determined purpose, traveling from Lake Biwa, carrying the lifeblood of the mountains down into the basin of the city. Running alongside this waterway is a narrow flagstone walkway, sheltered by a canopy of trees. This is the Philosopher's Path. It was here that that the great thinker Nishida Kitaro walked every day to practice meditation, his mind moving in rhythm with his feet, finding clarity in the repetition of the stroll. Standing at the start of the path, you pause. The anticipation of the walk is a physical sensation, a loosening of the shoulders, a deepening of the breath. The light is strong enough now to reveal the colors of the morning. Above you, the branches of the cherry trees stretch across the canal to touch the branches from the opposite bank, forming a tunnel of leaves. Depending on the season, they might be bare and sculptural, dusted with snow, or exploding with pink blossoms. But today, let us imagine them in the lush, verdant fullness of late spring. The leaves are a vibrant, living green, filtering the dawn light into soft, emerald beams that dance upon the water. Your eyes are drawn downward to the path itself. It is not a paved road, but a collection of stones. Some are large and flat, shaped like irregular islands. Others are small cobblestones, fitted together like a puzzle. They are gray and granite, speckled with mica that catches the early light. But they are not merely stone. They are a canvas for time. Here, in the quiet damp of the canal side, nature has begun to reclaim the masonry. This is where the magic of Kyoto truly lives. It is in the relationship between the hard, unyielding rock and the soft, persistent moss. You kneel for a moment to look closer. The moss is thick and velvety, a cushion of intense green that fills the cracks and crevices between the pavers. It creeps up the sides of the stone bridges, softening the sharp edges, blurring the line between the man-made and the natural. The stone represents permanence, solidity, and the unmoving foundation of the earth. The moss represents patience, resilience, and the slow, quiet wrapping of time. Together they age. They do not fight one another, they embrace. The stone offers a surface, and the moss offers a blanket. As the light continues to brighten, revealing the intricate textures of the lichen and the ferns sprouting from the canal walls, you realize that this path is more than just a walkway. It is a lesson in harmony. It teaches that there is beauty in the old, the weathered, and the worn. The water in the canal ripples over a submerged rock, creating a soft, melodic gurgle that harmonizes with the rustling leaves above. The atmosphere is thick with peace. You stand upright again, looking down the tunnel of green and gray that stretches out before you. The path winds gently, disappearing around a bend, inviting you to follow. There is no rush to reach the end. The destination is not a temple or a shrine, but the act of walking itself, placing one foot in front of the other on these ancient stones, breathing in the cool morning air, and watching the day begin in a place where moss and stone have been companions for longer than memory can hold. The journey to the northern reaches of Higashiyama feels less like a transit across space and more like a gentle, drifting through time. As the vehicle winds away from the modern grid of central Kyoto, the buildings become lower, the timber darker, and the shadows longer. You have arrived in a district that prides itself on preservation, a place where the centuries overlap like the layers of a well-worn kimono. Your destination is a traditional ryokan nestled in the quiet streets, just a short distance from Jinkakujai, the silver pavilion. The entrance is modest, marked only by a split indigo curtain fluttering softly in the breeze. Stepping through the wooden gate, the sounds of the modern world vanish, replaced by the rhythmic crunch of gravel underfoot and the soft trickling of a stone basin filled with clear water. The air here carries a distinct calmness, cool air clinging to the skin like a light silk veil, refreshing and grounding after a day of travel. Inside, the scent of straw tatami mats and aged cedar wood greets you. The check-in is a whispered affair, full of bows and hushed tones, honoring the tranquility of the space. You are shown to your room, a spare and elegant space where a single scroll hangs in the alcove, painted with a sweeping brushstroke of ink. The sliding paper screens are parted slightly, revealing a small private garden where ferns unfurl in the deepening shade, brilliant green against the dark earth. As evening settles, a meal is brought to your room, a celebration of the season served on lacquerware and ceramic dishes. It is a dinner featuring seasonal Kyoto vegetables, known for their distinct flavors and vibrant colors. There are simmered bamboo shoots, tender and crisp, alongside wild greens foraged from the nearby hills. A small bowl of tofu, creamy and delicate, sits in a broth that tastes of the sea and the earth. Every bite is an invitation to slow down, to savor the subtle changes of nature that the chefs have carefully captured. Satiated and rested, you slide your feet into the wooden sandals provided by the inn and step out for an evening orientation walk. The sun has dipped below the western mountains, leaving the sky a deep, bruised purple that slowly fades into indigo. You head toward the northern end of the Lake Biwa Canal. In the daylight, this path is a corridor of cherry blossoms and maples, but under the cover of twilight, it becomes a secret world. The neighborhood is quiet, the tourists having long since departed. As you pass the wooden townhouses, you catch the faint, ghostly trail of sandalwood incense from household altars, a warm and spicy fragrance that speaks of evening prayers and remembrance. It mixes with the damp, earthy scent of the canal water. Somewhere in the canopy of dense maple leaves above, a Japanese bush warbler calls out. Its song is usually a herald of spring mornings, but here, in the quiet of the evening, a solitary bird sings a brief, melodious note that echoes against the stone retaining walls. You pause by a small stone bridge, drawn to the textures illuminated by the soft glow of a street lamp. Here you see the relationship that defines this ancient city. The heavy stones of the canal wall are old, their sharp edges softened by centuries of water and weather. And clinging to them is the moss. Even in this low light, the moss appears as a thick, velvety tapestry. It fills the cracks and crevices, a cushion of intense green that creeps up the sides of the granite. The stone represents permanence and the unmoving foundation of the earth, while the moss represents patience and the slow embrace of time. Together, they age without conflict. Watching the water ripple over a submerged rock, you feel your own breath sink with the slow, steady rhythm of this place. The path winds gently ahead, disappearing into the shadows, inviting you to return at dawn to see these colors in the morning light. But for now, the heavy wooden doors of the ryokan await, promising a night of deep, dreamless sleep in the heart of the old capital. The transition from the depths of sleep to the waking world happens slowly in Kyoto. Light begins to filter through the paper of the shoji screens, not yet the bright gold of the sun, but a cool, diffused indigo. It is the hour before sunrise, a time the locals know as the blue hour, when the world is suspended between the dreams of the night and the duties of the day. You rise quietly, the tatami mats firm and yielding beneath your feet, and slide open the wooden door to step out into the morning air. The streets are empty, bathed in that ethereal twilight blue that seems to soften the edges of every building and tree. You make your way back toward the canal, drawn by the memory of the water. The philosopher's path is different now than it was in the evening. Without the shadows of night, the clarity of the scene is striking, yet it retains a dreamlike quality. The air is crisp and carries the scent of damp earth and dew-covered leaves. You wrap your coat taller around your neck and begin to walk. To your left, the Lake Biwa Canal flows with a constant, gentle purpose. The sound is a melodic gurgle, a continuous, fluid song that has accompanied thinkers and poets on this walkway for generations. It creates a curtain of white noise that pushes away any lingering thoughts of the world outside, leaving only the present moment. The water moves with a soothing consistency, swirling around rocks and gliding over submerged pebbles, clear and cold from the mountains. As you walk, a new sound emerges from the silence, rhythmic and steady. It is the soft shush-shush of a bamboo broom against gravel. Ahead, near the gate of a small sub-temple, a monk is performing his morning duty. He is dressed in indigo work clothes, moving with a focused grace. The bristles of the broom catch the loose pebbles and guide them into orderly patterns. He does not look up, entirely absorbed in the simple act of cleaning, turning a chore into a meditation. The sound is hypnotic, like a slow heartbeat regulating the pace of the morning. Shush, shush. Shush, shush. It is the sound of care, of tending to the earth one stroke at a time. You continue past him, leaving him to his peaceful work, and find yourself once again by the small stone bridge that caught your eye the night before. In the growing light of dawn, the details that were hidden in shadow are now revealed in exquisite definition. This is a kingdom of stone and moss. You pause here, leaning slightly over the granite railing. The stone is cool to the touch, its surface rough and pitted by the elements. It feels solid, an anchor of permanence in a changing world. Yet it is not bare. The damp climate of the valley has gifted these stones with a living coat. They say there are over 100 species of moss thriving in the gardens and waterways of this city. And looking closely at the canal wall, you can believe it. The moss is not a single uniform green, but a complex tapestry of color and texture. There are patches of bright lime that seem to glow with their own inner light, and deep, dark emeralds that look like miniature forests. Some of the moss grows in tiny, starry bursts, intricate and delicate, while other patches form thick, rolling cushions that soften the hard angles of the masonry. You reach out to touch a patch of moss growing on the capstone of the bridge. The contrast is immediate. Where the granite is unyielding and coarse, the moss is incredibly soft, plush, and yielding like the finest velvet. It holds the moisture of the dawn, cool and damp, against your fingertips. Tiny droplets of dew cling to the filaments, sparkling like crushed diamonds in the low light. This relationship between the rock and the plant is a silent conversation that has been taking place for decades, perhaps centuries. The stone provides the structure, the unmoving foundation, while the moss offers protection, covering the rigid gray with a blanket of life. Together, they age without conflict, a perfect example of nature's ability to soften the hardest edges over time. Standing here, watching the water ripple over a submerged rock, you feel your own breath sink with the slow, steady rhythm of this place. You inhale slowly, filling your lungs with the fresh morning air, and exhale just as slowly, letting your shoulders drop. The stillness of the moss and the movement of the water create a balance that settles deep within your chest. There is no rush here. The path winds gently ahead, disappearing into the shelter of the cherry trees, inviting you to simply be. The blue light of dawn begins to shift, warming ever so slightly as the sun approaches the horizon behind the eastern mountains. The world is waking up, but you carry the peace of the blue hour with you, grounded by the ancient stone and the velvet touch of the moss. You continue your gentle stroll along the gravel walkway of the Philosopher's path, leaving the canal behind for a moment as you turn toward the sloping foothills of the Higashiyama Mountains. The air here is distinct, heavier with the scent of the forest that rises just beyond the tree line. It is a fragrance of deep history, a rich perfume of petrichor and damp earth that rises after the early morning mist has settled upon the soil. Every breath you take tastes of pine needles and wet bark, a grounding aroma that connects you instantly to the land beneath your feet. As you ascend the gentle incline, the path narrows, flanked by towering maples and oaks that filter the rising sun into soft, dappled patterns on the ground. Ahead, the entrance to Honanin appears, secluded and hushed. The temple gate is not a grand, imposing structure of red lacquer and gold, but a humble, rustic masterpiece topped with a thick thatched roof. Over the years, the thatch has become a garden in itself, hosting patches of emerald moss and tiny ferns that cling to the eaves. It looks as though the gate was not built by hands, but rather grew from the earth, extending upward like the ancient trees that surround it. Passing beneath the gate, you step into a world that feels entirely separate from the city below. Two mounds of white sand, carefully raked into rectangular shapes, sit on either side of the walkway. They are meant to purify the spirit of those who enter, and as you walk past them, you feel a sense of clarity wash over you. The silence here is profound, broken only by the occasional drip of dew falling from a leaf to the stone path. You wander deeper into the garden, drawn to a cluster of stone lanterns half hidden among the foliage. Here, the relationship between stone and time is most evident. You pause, feeling the urge to capture this image, perhaps with a sketchpad or a camera, or simply by etching it into your memory. The stone of the lantern is gray and weathered, its sharp corners rounded by centuries of wind and rain. Yet it is not worn down, it is adorned. A thick carpet of velvet moss hugs the base and creeps up the sides, softening the granite. The green is vibrant against the gray, a testament to how nature embraces the man-made. You observe the tiny landscapes within the moss, the miniature valleys and peaks of green velvet, realizing that an entire world exists within just a few inches of space. From somewhere high in the mountains, the deep, resonant thrum of a temple bell begins to toll. It is not a sharp clang, but a low, vibrating hum that you feel in your chest as much as you hear with your ears. The sound rolls down the hillside like a slow wave, passing through the trees and the stones, vibrating the very air around you. It lingers for a long time, a sustained note that invites you to drop your shoulders even further, releasing any remaining tension. Guided by the fading resonance of the bell, you make your way toward a small, secluded tea house nestled at the edge of the garden. The path leads over a small stream, crossed by a curved stone bridge. You pause halfway across, looking down not at the water itself, but at the stone arch beneath you. The low angle of the morning sun casts a light that bounces off the surface of the stream, creating a shimmering reflection of water on the underside of the stone bridge. The dancing patterns of light ripple across the rock, liquid and fluid against the solid masonry. A mesmerizing display of brightness in the shadowed underbelly of the crossing. You reach the tea house and step inside, removing your shoes and stepping onto the woven tatami mats. The room smells of dried straw and faint incense. A host is waiting, seated in stillness, preparing for a morning tea ceremony dedicated to silence. There is no need for words here. You take your seat, the posture natural and relaxed. The only sounds are the precise, deliberate movements of the tea preparation, the ladling of hot water, the gentle whisking of the matcha powder. The bamboo whisk scrapes softly against the ceramic bowl, a rhythmic, scratching sound that is incredibly soothing. When the bowl is placed before you, you cradle it in both hands, feeling the warmth radiate into your palms and up your arms. You lift the bowl and inhale the grassy, earthy steam of the tea. It is a vibrant green, topped with a fine, jade-colored foam. Taking a sip, the flavor is rich and complex, warming you from the inside out. In this space, surrounded by the aging moss, the weathered stone, and the distant memory of the temple bell, time seems to suspend. You are simply here, witnessing the morning unfold in its own slow, deliberate way, perfectly at peace in the quiet heart of Kyoto. You bow your head slightly in gratitude to the host, rising slowly from the tatami mat. The warmth of the tea lingers in your chest, a glowing ember that accompanies you as you slide your feet back into your shoes. Stepping out of the tea house, you return to the cool, crisp air of the early morning. The sky has shifted from the indigo of pre-dawn to a soft, pearlescent gray, hinting at the golden light that will soon spill over the eastern mountains. You find yourself standing at the beginning of the Philosopher's Path, a stone walkway that follows the gentle curve of a narrow canal. The world is waking up, but slowly. The path is paved with rough flagstones that seem to have absorbed the silence of the night. On one side, the canal flows with a quiet determination, the water clear and cold. On the other, the hillside rises, dense with foliage. Above you, the branches of cherry and maple trees stretch across the water to touch fingertips, forming a natural tunnel. The light here is different. It does not fall directly, but filters through dense layers of maple and cherry leaves, creating a soft, dappled illumination that shifts and sways with the breeze. This filtered light paints the path in shades of chartreuse and emerald, calming the eyes and softening the edges of the world. You walk at a leisurely pace, the rhythm of your footsteps matching the gentle current of the stream beside you. There is nowhere to be, only this path and this moment. The air smells of damp earth, river water, and the faint, sweet scent of wet bark. As you wander further, the path guides you toward the grounds of Nanzenjai, one of the most significant Zen temples in all of Kyoto. The entrance is marked not by a door, but by the massive Sanmin Gate. It looms before you, a colossal structure of dark, weathered wood that seems as permanent as the mountains themselves. It is 2 stories tall, supported by thick pillars that resemble the trunks of ancient redwoods. You approach it with a sense of reverence. The wood is black with age, textured with the grain of centuries. Standing beneath it, you feel small in the most comforting way, protected by the sheer scale of the architecture. Suddenly, a sound breaks the silence, but it is not a noise that startles. It is the deep, resonant boom of the Bansho bell. The monk has struck the great hanging bell, and the sound is so low and powerful that you do not just hear it, you feel it. The vibration of the Bansho bell travels through the ground, rising up through the soles of your feet and humming in your bones. It is a cleansing wave, a frequency that seems to align your heartbeat with the slow, steady pulse of the temple. The sound lingers in the air for a long time, decaying slowly until it merges with the wind in the trees. Passing through the temple grounds, you discover a structure that seems out of time and place, yet perfectly at home. It is the Suirakaku, a brick aqueduct built in the Meiji era. Arches of red brick rise out of the green forest floor, carrying the canal water from Lake Biwa high above the ground. The brick has darkened over the last century, turning a deep, rich ochre, and in the crevices of the mortar, tiny ferns and patches of moss have taken hold. You walk along the base of the aqueduct, running your hand over the rough, cool surface of the bricks. The geometry of the Roman-style arches contrasts beautifully with the organic chaos of the maple trees surrounding them. Here, you notice a specific auditory detail. High above you, the water rushes through the channel, invisible from the ground, but its presence is known. The liquid trill of the canal echoes against the brick arches, a hollow, rhythmic gurgling that sounds like a lullaby sung by the stone itself. It is the sound of utility becoming art, of water and masonry singing together. Leaving the aqueduct, you find your way to a secluded Zen garden tucked away in a quiet corner of the temple complex. This is a place designed for looking, for sitting, and for breathing. You sit on the edge of the wooden veranda, your legs resting comfortably, your gaze settling on the dry landscape before you. The garden is a composition of rocks and moss, a study in time. Large, gray stones are set into the earth, their surfaces pitted and worn by wind and rain. They look heavy, immovable, anchored deep in the soil. Surrounding them is a carpet of thick, velvety moss. It is a vibrant, electric green, soft and yielding. You watch how the moss creeps up the sides of the stones, embracing the hard rock with a tender, slow-moving blanket. You observe how the moss and stone age together, The stone provides the structure, the stability, the permanence. The moss provides the softness, the life, the change. They are two opposites existing in perfect harmony. As you stare at the scene, your vision softens. The boundaries between the rock and the green fuzz seem to blur. The quiet of the garden seeps into your mind, filling the spaces between your thoughts with the same stillness that inhabits the stones. Your breathing slows, becoming deep and rhythmic, mimicking the slow, unseen growth of the moss. You feel heavy, grounded, like one of the great stones in the garden, settled and secure. The morning light continues to brighten, but your eyelids feel pleasantly heavy, drawn down by the weight of relaxation. The sound of the distant water, the memory of the deep bell, and the vision of the soft green moss all swirl together, wrapping you in a cocoon of tranquility. You are part of this landscape now, timeless and still, resting in the ancient, quiet heart of the morning. Leaving the quiet sanctuary of the moss garden, you continue your gentle walk as the path guides you toward the temple of Ikendu. The morning is still young, and the world feels suspended in a delicate blue-gray light. You move with a slow, deliberate pace, carrying the stillness of the stones with you. The air here feels different, charged with the ancient history of the valley, yet refreshing and new. A fine, cool mist hangs in the air, drifting down from the surrounding Higashiyama Mountains. You feel the cool touch of the morning mist on your face, a gentle caress that wakes the senses without disturbing your calm. It settles on your skin like a whisper, grounding you in the present moment. As you pass through the wooden gates of Ikendu, the architecture shifts. Here, the buildings seem to grow directly out of the forest floor, their dark timber beams merging with the trunks of maple and pine. You make your way toward the Hojo Pond, the heart of the temple grounds. The water is a polished mirror, reflecting the sky and the trees with perfect clarity. A stone bridge arches gracefully over the water, connecting two small islands. You pause at the edge of the pond, observing the interplay of elements. The surface of the water is still, broken only by the occasional ripple of a koi fish surfacing for air, sending concentric circles, expanding slowly outward until they disappear. From somewhere high in the canopy, across the valley, a sound pierces the silence. It is the high-pitched call of the Yuguisu bird. The sound is distinctive and pure, a melody that rises and falls in a sharp, beautiful curve. It echoes against the hills, emphasizing the quiet rather than breaking it. You listen as the bird calls again, a signal that the day is beginning, though the sun has not yet crested the mountain peaks. You find a weathered wooden bench near the water's edge and sit down. Reaching into your bag, you retrieve a small journal and a pen. The paper is smooth under your hand. You feel a desire to capture the essence of this morning, not just the sights, but the feeling of time passing slowly. You look at the garden around you, noting the visual harmony of weathered gray stone and vibrant green flora. The stones are old, their sharp edges softened by centuries of rain and wind. They do not fight against time, they accept it, wearing their age with dignity. Beside them, the fresh green leaves of the maples and the carpets of moss represent the new, the cycle of rebirth that happens every spring. You write about this balance. You reflect on how the moss needs the stone for support, and the stone needs the moss for warmth. You consider the beauty of aging, of things that become more interesting, more textured, and more real as the years pass. There is a peace in this realization, a letting go of the need for permanence. Everything here changes, yet everything remains eternally part of the same rhythm. You close the journal, running your hand over the cover, feeling a deep sense of gratitude for this week of solitude and observation. Eventually, it is time to depart. You rise from the bench, taking one last look at the Hojo Pond, committing the reflection of the bridge and the sound of the Yuguisu to memory. You walk back through the temple grounds, your footsteps quiet on the gravel. Leaving the temple, you make your way to the station to begin the journey away from the ancient capital. You board a train that will take you on the scenic mountain route, winding through the valleys that cradle Kyoto. As the train pulls away, you find a seat by the window. The motion is smooth and rhythmic, a gentle swaying that immediately invites rest. The city fades behind you, replaced by the deep greens of the forest and the gray of the mountain cliffs. You watch the landscape slide by. Tall cedar trees stand like sentinels on the slopes, their straight trunks creating a blur of vertical lines. The train moves through tunnels, the darkness wrapping around you for a moment before bursting back into the soft morning light of a new valley. The rhythmic clacking of the wheels on the tracks becomes a lullaby, a steady, repetitive beat that syncs with your heartbeat. Your head rests against the cushioned seat. The scenery outside begins to soften as your eyes lose their focus. The vibrant green of the passing hills merges with the gray of the misty sky. You feel heavy and warm, sinking deeper into the seat. The journey has ended, but the peace you found in the gardens travels with you. The image of the moss and the stone, aging together in perfect harmony, lingers in your mind. The train rocks gently, back and forth, back and forth. You are safe, you are comfortable, and you are deeply relaxed. The world outside continues its flow, but you are drifting inward toward a place of absolute stillness. The sounds of the train fade into a comforting hum, carrying you effortlessly towards sleep.